So another topic under commercial law is insurance law. What is the concept of insurance? A concept of insurance or a contract of insurance is an agreement whereby one undertakes for a consideration called the premium to indemnify another against loss, damage, liability arising from an unknown or contingent event. A contingent event is one that is not certain to take place. On the other hand, an unknown event is one which is certain to happen, but the time of happening is not known. So example of an unknown event is death because it is certain to happen, but the time of its happening is not known. Note that an insurance policy is different from the contract of insurance. The policy is the formal written instrument evidencing the contract of insurance entered into between the insured and the insurer. So what are the elements of an insurance contract? First, there is a scheme of distribution of loss. The assumption of risk is part of the general scheme to distribute actual losses among large groups or substantial number of persons bearing similar risks. Second is the payment of the premium. Premium is the consideration for the insurer's promise that the insured makes a rateable contribution called the premium to a general insurance fund. Third, the existence of an insurable interest. The insured possesses an interest of the same kind susceptible to pecuniary estimation known as insurable interest. Fourth is the assumption of risk by the insurer, where the insurer assumes the risk of loss for a consideration. And fifth is the risk of loss. The insured is subject to a risk of loss through the destruction or impairment of that interest by the happening of the designated peril. What is an insurable interest? An insurable interest is the interest which the law requires the owner of an insurance policy to have in the person or thing insured. In terms of the event insured against, it is the relation between the insurer and the risk insured against, such that the occurrence of the risk will cause substantial loss or harm of some kind to the insured. What is the insurable interest in life insurance policies? We have to note that there is an unlimited insurable interest in life insurances, except if it is effected by a creditor on the life of the debtor. It must exist at the time the policy takes effect and need not exist at the time of the loss. An expectation of benefit need not have a legal basis or need not be based on legally enforceable obligation. The beneficiary need not have insurable interest over the life of the insured if the insured himself secured the policy. So, an insured can name anyone as his beneficiary provided he is the one who took the insurance policy. However, if the life insurance was obtained by the beneficiary, then the beneficiary must have an insurable interest over the life of the insured. Can, it can also be transferred even without the consent or notice to the insurer. By express provision of Section 184 of the Insurance Code, it is not necessary that the transferee has an insurable interest. So Section 10 of the Insurance Code stipulates that every person has an insurable interest in the life and health of whom? Himself, of his spouse, of his children, and of any person on whom he depends wholly or in part for education or support, or in whom he has pecuniary interest. Third, of any person under the legal obligation to him for the payment of money or respecting property or services for which death or illness might delay or prevent the performance. And fourth, any person upon whose life any estate or interest vested in him depends. So what is the insurable interest in property? We have to note that it is only limited to the actual value of the interest in property. It must exist when the policy takes effect and when the loss occurs. Unlike in life insurance, it must only exist at the time of the effectivity of the policy but need not exist at the time of loss. In property, expectation benefits must have legal basis. The beneficiary must have insurable interest over the thing insured in property insurance. Unlike in life insurance, the beneficiary need not have an insurable interest over the life of the insured. Also, in property insurance, it is necessary that the transferee has insurable interest over the thing of the insured. Under Section 14 of the Insurance Code, it lays down the insurable interest in property, which may consist in 1. Existing interest, 1. An existing interest, 2. An inchoate interest founded on an existing interest, or an expectancy coupled with an existing interest and that out of which the expectancy arises. Section 3 lays down what may be insured. So it says any contingent or unknown event, whether past or future, which may damnify a person having an insurable interest or create liability against him, may be insured against, subject to the provisions of this chapter. The consent of the spouse is not necessary for the validity of an insurance policy taken out by a married person on his life or that of his children. All rights, title, and interest in the policy of insurance taken out by an original owner on the life or health of the person insured shall automatically vest in the latter upon the death of the original owner, unless otherwise provided in the policy. So what cannot be insured? Section 4 lays down that the preceding section does not authorize an insurance for or against the drawing of any lottery or for or against any chance or ticket in the lottery drawing prize. So, if lottery or a game of chance, that cannot be insured. So, who cannot be insured? So, Section 7 of the Insurance Code tells us that anyone except a public enemy may be insured. So, what is this public enemy? Public enemy is a person or a citizen to which the Philippines is at war with. So, are pirates public enemies? Yes, of course, because they are enemies of mankind and therefore not insurable. So what is concealment? Concealment is the failure to disclose facts which the applicant at the time of application knows or ought to know and are material to the insurance applied for. A neglect to communicate that which a party knows and ought to communicate is called concealment. A concealment, whether intentional or unintentional, entitles the insured party to rescind the contract of insurance. What is the duty to communicate by the insured? So each party to a contract of insurance must communicate to the other in good faith all the facts within his knowledge, which are material to the contract, as to which he makes no warranty, and which the other has no means of ascertaining. Note that if the applicant is aware of the existence of some circumstance which he knows would influence the insurer in acting upon his application, good faith requires him to disclose that circumstance, though unasked. What are the matters which need not be disclosed? First, matters that is already known to the insurer. Second, matters which each party is bound to know. Third, matters of which the insurer waives communication. Fourth, matters which prove or tend to prove the existence of a risk excluded by a warranty and which are not otherwise material. Fifth, matters which relate to a risk accepted in the policy and which are not otherwise material. Fourth, information of the nature or amount of the interest of one insured unless if inquired upon by the insurer, except if required by Section 51, and of course, matters of opinion. So what are the requisites? So a party knows a fact, which he neglects to communicate or disclose to the insurer or the other, and such party concealing is duty bound to disclose such fact to the other. Third, such party concealing makes no warranty of the fact concealed. Fourth, the other party has no means of ascertaining the fact concealed, and the fact concealed is material. Failure of the insured to disclose the conditions affecting the risk of which he is aware makes the contract voidable at the insurer's option, the ratio being that a contract of insurance is of good faith. Concealment may be committed by either the insurer or the insured. Test of materiality in concealment. So the test of materiality is whether the insurer would have agreed to issue the policy had it known of the facts concealed or perhaps impose additional terms or require higher premium. Materiality relates to the probable and reasonable influence of the facts upon the party to whom the communication should have been made in 1. Assessing the risk involved, making or omitting to make further inquiries, and accepting the application for insurance. What is the effect of concealment? So generally, concealment vitiates the contract and entitles the insurer to rescind the policy even if the death or loss is due to a cause not related to the concealed matter, although we have exceptions. Concealment after the contract has become effective because concealment must take place at the time the contract is entered into in order that the policy may be avoided, or in cases of waiver or estoppel. In marine insurance, where the concealment of the following matters does not vitiate the entire contract, but merely exonerates the insurer from a loss resulting from the risk concealed, when there is the national character of the insured, the liability of the thing insured to capture and detention, the liability to seizure from breach of foreign laws of trade, the want of necessary documents, and the use of false and simulated papers. We also have incontestability clause in life insurance. So this is a clause that provides that a life insurance policy shall be incontestable after 2 years from the date of its issuance, regardless of any mistake, fraud, concealment, or misrepresentations. It gives the insurers enough time to inquire whether the policy was obtained by fraud, concealment, or misrepresentation. On the other hand, it forewarns scheming individuals that their attempt at insurance fraud would be timely uncovered, thus deterring them from venturing into such nefarious enterprise. Exceptions: when there is non-payment of the premium, the incontestability clause will not apply, and when there is violation of the conditions of the policy relating to military or naval service in times of war. Representation. Representation are factual statements made by the insured at the time of or prior to the issuance of the policy, which gives information to the insurer and induce him to enter the insurance contract. It may be about the past, an existing fact, or a future happening. A representation may be oral or written. It may be made at the time of or before the issuance of the policy. It may also be altered or withdrawn before the insurance is effected, but not afterwards. It must be presumed to refer to the date on the policy. Misrepresentation. Misrepresentation is a false representation which the insured states with knowledge that is untrue, intended to deceive the insurer into accepting the risk. It can be distinguished from concealment in a sense that it is an active form of deception, while concealment is a passive form of deception. Because in concealment, you failed to divulge a material fact which you know or ought to know, while in misrepresentation, you intended to deceive the insurer into accepting the risk. Just like concealment, misrepresentation is committed before or at the time of the commencement of the insurance contract. After this time, an insured may no longer be guilty of misrepresentation as the insurer had already been persuaded to assume the risk. So requisites of misrepresentation: that the insured stated a fact which is untrue, and such fact was stated with knowledge that it is untrue and with the intent to deceive, or which he states positively as true without knowing it to be true and which has a tendency to mislead. Such fact is either material to the risk. Like in concealment, fraud or intent is not essential to entitle the insurer to rescind on the ground of misrepresentation. What is the test of materiality in misrepresentation? So the materiality of representation is determined by the same rules as the materiality of a concealment. Materiality is judicial question and not left to the insurance company's sole discretion. What is the effect of misrepresentation? Well, generally, the injured party is entitled to rescind from the time when the representation becomes false. Exception: when the incontestability clause in life insurance is applicable. Second, when misrepresentation after contract takes effect. Third, waiver made by the acceptance of insurer of premium payments despite knowledge of the ground of rescission. Fourth, a representation of the expectation, belief, opinion, or judgment of the insured, although false and even if material to the risk. Fifth, representation by insured based on information obtained from third persons, not his agent, provided that the insured has no personal knowledge of the facts, believes them to be true, and explains to the insurer that he does so on the information of others. What is a policy? A policy is a written instrument in which the contract of insurance is set forth, called a policy of insurance. The policy shall be printed, from which may contain blank spaces, and any word, phrase, clause, mark, sign, symbol, signature, number, or word necessary to complete the contract of insurance shall be written on the blank space provided therein. So this is a contract of adhesion. So the policy, under the policy, we also have cover notes. So Section 52 stipulates that cover notes may be issued to bind insurance temporarily pending the issuance of the policy. Within 60 days after the issue of the cover note, a policy shall be issued in lieu thereof, including within its terms the identical insurance bound under the cover note and the premium therefore. A policy may either be open, valued, or running. Section 60 defines what is an open policy, and an open policy is one which the value of the thing insured is not agreed upon, and the amount of the insurance merely represents the insurer's maximum liability. The value of such thing insured shall be ascertained at the time of the loss. So because it is a contract of indemnity. Section 61 defines a valued policy. It is one which expresses on its face an agreement that the thing insured shall be valued at a specific sum. So there is a value. So life insurances are always valued policy. Last type of policy is a running policy. This is one which contemplates successive insurances and which provides that the object of the policy may be from time to time defined, especially as to subjects of insurance by additional statements or endorsements. An example of this is when you have a warehouse and you are maintaining an inventory. So the inventory fluctuates, it goes up, it goes down. So your policy should be on a running policy. Now, what are warranties? So, warranty is a statement or a promise made by the insured, set forth in the policy itself or incorporated in it by proper reference, the untruth or non-fulfillment of which in any respect and without reference to whether the insurer was in fact prejudiced by such untruth or non-fulfillment renders the policy voidable by the insurer. What if there is a breach of warranty? A breach of warranty is a violation of the warranty that there were no other insurances on the property insured entitles the insurer to rescind. What is a premium? A premium in an insurance is the agreed price for assuming and carrying the risk. So this is the consideration paid to an insurer for undertaking to indemnify the insured against the specified peril. Generally, no insurance policy issued or renewal is valid and binding until the actual payment of the premium. Any agreement to the contrary is void, except whenever a grace period provision applies in case of a life or an industrial life policy, which is 30 days, whenever under the broker and agency agreements with duly licensed intermediary, a 90-day credit extension is given. Note that no credit extension to a duly licensed intermediary should exceed 90 days from the date of the issuance of the policy. Exceptions continuation when there is an acknowledgement in the contract that the premium has been paid. Fourth, when there is payment to agent. Third, in credit extension. Additional jurisprudential exceptions are those agreement to grant payment of the premium in an installment basis and partial payment has been made, and when parties are barred by estoppel. So we also have this cash and carry rule. Generally, an insurance policy is not binding unless the premium thereof has been paid, except if grace period applies, which is 30 days. Individual life or endowment insurance and group life insurance, 30 days or 1 month within which the payment of any premium after the first may be made. In industrial life insurance, the grace period is 4 weeks, and where premiums are payable monthly, either 30 days or 1 month. So we're gonna then 30 days. Another exception is in credit extension, which is a 90-day credit extension may be provided under broker and agency agreements with duly licensed intermediaries. Acknowledgement of payment Acknowledgement of premium payment. If the insurer acknowledges receipt of the premium, then the policy becomes binding. Acceptance by the obligee. Acceptance of a bond issued by a surety makes the bond binding even if the premium has not been paid. Installment payments agreement. If the insured and insurer have an agreement allowing premium payment in installments and partial payment has been made at the time of loss, the policy remains valid. Estoppel. The insurer may be estopped from claiming non-payment of their actions or representations have led the insured to believe that the policy is binding despite non-payment. Issuance of cover notes. A cover note issued by the insurer binds the policy temporarily until the premium is paid or the policy has been issued. Loss. So Section 85, an agreement not to transfer the claim of the insured against the insurer. An agreement not to transfer the claim of the insured against the insurer after the loss has happened is void if made before the loss, except as otherwise provided in the case of life insurance. Section 86, unless otherwise provided by the policy, an insurer is liable for a loss of which a peril insured against was the proximate cause, although a peril not contemplated by the contract may have been a remote cause of the loss, but he is not liable for a loss of which the peril insured against was only a remote cause. Section 87, an insurer is liable where the thing insured is rescued from a peril insured against that would otherwise have caused a loss, if in the course of such rescue the thing is exposed to a peril not insured against, which permanently deprives the insured of its possession in whole or in part, or where a loss is caused by efforts to rescue the thing insured from the peril insured against. Section 88, where a peril is specially excepted in a contract of insurance, a loss which would not have occurred but for such peril is thereby excepted, although the immediate cause of the loss was a peril which was not excepted. Section 89, an insurer is not liable for a loss caused by the willful act or through the connivance of the insured, but he is not exonerated by the negligence of the insured or of the insurance agents or others. Notice and proof of loss. loss. The notice of loss is a formal notification by the insured to the insurer about the occurrence of a loss or damage to the insured property or interest. The proof of loss is a formal declaration by the insured supported by evidence detailing the extent of loss and the circumstances under which it occurred. The following proof of loss, when submitted under oath, shall be sufficient evidence to substantiate the claim. What are those? A police report of the accident, the death certificate, and evidence sufficient to establish the proper payee, or a medical report and evidence of medical or hospital disbursement in respect of which refund is claimed. What is the concept of double insurance? Under Section 95 of the Insurance Code, a double insurance exists where the same person is insured by several insurers separately in respect to the same subject and interest. So the requisites, there is a person insured who is the same person. There are two or more insurers insuring them separately. The subject matter is the same. The interest insured is also the same, and the risk or peril insured against is likewise the same. So the person, the subject matter, the interest, and the peril insured against are all the same, and it is insured by two or more insurers insuring it separately. The concept of overinsurance. There is overinsurance if the insured takes out an insurance over the property insured in an amount which is in excess of the value of his insurable interest. What is the effect of double insurance and overinsurance? That is under Section 96 of the Insurance Code, where the insured in a policy other than life is overinsured by double insurance. The insured, unless the policy otherwise provides, may claim payment from the insurers in such order as he may select, up to the amount for which the insurers are severally liable under their respective contracts. Where the policy under which the insured claim is at a valued policy, any sum received by him under any other policy shall be deducted from the value of the policy without regard to the actual value of the subject matter insured. Where the policy under which the insured claims is an unvalued policy, any sum received by him under any policy shall be deducted against the full insurable value for any sum received by him under any policy. Where the insured receives any sum in excess of the valuation, in the case of valued policies, or in insurable value, in the case of unvalued policies, he must hold such sum in trust for the insurers, according to their right of contribution among themselves, and each insurer is bound, as between himself and the other insurers, to contribute ratably to the loss in proportion to the amount for which he is liable under his contract. Lastly, the concept of reinsurance. Section 97. A contract of reinsurance is one which an insurer procures a third person to insure him against loss or liability by reason of such original insurance. Where an insurer obtains reinsurance, except under automatic reinsurance treaties, he must communicate all the representations of the original insured and also all the knowledge and information he possesses, whether previously or subsequently acquired, which are material to the risk. A reinsurance is presumed to be a contract of indemnity against liability and not merely against damage. And lastly, the original insured has no interest in the contract of reinsurance. So the original insured cannot go against the reinsurance insurer because he is not a party to the contract of reinsurance.